everybody, my name is Rachel and welcome to my weekly wrap-up of May 10th, 2015. I hope you guys had a good week and are having a good weekend. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. I had a really good week, especially a really good reading week. I read a bunch of things and they were all pretty fantastic, and I'm going to tell you about them now. The first book that I finished this week was Palimpsest by Catherine M. Valente. This is the first adult novel I have read by Valente. I have read the first two books in her Fairyland series for younger readers and really enjoyed them. I loved her writing style so much that I wanted to go and find another book that she'd written for adults, and I found Palimpsest. Palimpsest is definitely adult, thematically, content-wise. It has a lot of sex, it has a lot of adult issues in it. The people are pretty messed up. It's about four people who find their way to a magical city that you can only get to by having sex with somebody who has already gone there. I initially had a really good impression of this book. When I finished reading it, I was really impressed by the writing. It was lush and rich in the way that Valente's writing always is for me. Her metaphors are never cliche, that's for sure. But mainly, I have this sense of unease about the story and the characters, which could be a good thing, kind of turning out to be a story that I'm not really comfortable with remembering, and I'm having difficulty with some of the resolutions in the story. All these characters are suffering loss and problems in the real world, and then they work so hard to make sacrifices to exchange one screwed up world for another screwed up world. I didn't feel like any of them were really finding something in Palimpsest that helped them. They might have had to address what was hurting them so much in the waking world, but whatever they were seeking in Palimpsest didn't quite work for me. Everyone was so broken and still seemed so broken by the end of the story that I was left asking, that's it? I don't know. If you've read this and you have an opinion on it, please let me know. I would like to know how other people feel about the subject matter in this book. The second book that I finished this week was Hyperion by Dan Simmons, and this was my favorite book of the week. And I love the structure of it, and I love the story and the stories within it. It's about 7 pilgrims who have been chosen to take the last pilgrimage to seek out the Shrike, this monster called the Lord of Pain, on the planet of Hyperion. The galaxy is on the verge of like destruction or war. The ousters are coming. They're going to be attacking Hyperion. And you have the sense that these people have been chosen to go on this last pilgrimage because there's something about all of them combined that can save everybody. But they individually don't know what it is, and they come up with this idea to tell each other their stories about their past history with the planet of Hyperion and with the Shrike to see why they have been chosen and why in this particular group. Why are they the last people to be chosen to seek out the Shrike? And this is based on the Canterbury Tales. I've been told this multiple times, and now I really want to read the Canterbury Tales. If it follows the same structure as this story, I think I might enjoy it quite a bit. I liked Weintraub the most, probably because he's the one person wandering around the story who's carrying a little infant the entire time, which I just thought was a wonderful mental image in the story. It's not funny, it was just really touching, and it lent something to his character and the situations that they were in. Anyway, I love the story quite a bit, and I would really like to get on to the next book, The Fall of Hyperion, because I want to know what's going to happen next. I haven't really heard anything about the later books in the series. I haven't heard about any other books that Dan Simmons has written, so if you have an opinion about the rest of the series or something else that he has published, please let me know in the comments down below. The next thing that I finished was Stone Mattress by Margaret Atwood. I listened to this on audiobook, and I would actually recommend listening to it on audiobook if you like listening to audio. It has multiple narrators. It's the first time I've ever listened to an audiobook that has more than one narrator. Stone Mattress is a collection of 9 short stories, and I think I enjoyed all of them quite a bit. There are definitely some standout ones for me. The first story, Alphenland, was my absolute favorite. I didn't care for the other 2 stories. The first 3 stories go together. They concern characters who know each other, and the stories that they tell have to do with each other and their past history with each other. But Alphenland, the first one, was the only one that I really liked that much. because the other two have main characters that I didn't like at all. I really despised Gavin. Ugh. Then I Dream of Xenia with the bright red teeth was quite good as well. I think this story has something to do with Atwood's book, The Robber Bride, and I felt like while I was listening to it that there was a lot of backstory or something about these characters that you're expected to know. And one of the final stories in the book was also really, really good. It's the title story, Stone Mattress. It's about this older woman who goes on a cruise and runs into a man that she realizes was her rapist in high school, and she decides to take revenge. It's like a how to pull off the perfect murder story, and how she plans the crime and how she just does it. There was this atmosphere in the story that I really liked, and part of that was because the woman who narrates this one, there's something about her voice and how calmly she's reading the story to you while this woman is doing something pretty horrific and remembering some really bad things from when she was raped. It was an interesting juxtaposition right there. I definitely enjoyed this collection of short stories, and I would highly recommend it to other people. The next book I read was Diplomatic Immunity by Lois McMaster Bujold, the next book in the Vorkosigan saga. I got to buddy read this with Catherine from the Android's Conundrum, which was really great because we're both at the same point in the series and we can now talk to each other about it without spoiling each other. And if you've been reading through the end of a long-running series and you realize you just can't talk to anybody about a lot of the stuff in it because spoilers, then it's really great to have somebody to talk to about things like the long-running character arcs and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed reading this with Catherine, and we're going to be kind of reading the last two books in the series at roughly the same time, so I'll get to talk to her about them too. In Diplomatic Immunity, Miles and his wife, Catherine, are on their way home from their honeymoon when they get a call from Emperor Gregor asking Miles to go to Graf Station because a Comaran fleet has been impounded there because of the actions of the Bahrain soldiers on the fleet, on the ship. And Miles has to go there and unravel what happened with the Bahrains and investigate disappearance of a Lieutenant Solion who they can't find anywhere. He's not on the ship, he's not on the station. It was really just a fantastic mystery story with Miles investigating, Miles talking to people, him putting together a lot of the clues. Overall, this was a really good Miles adventure story. It doesn't have the incredible speed and high stakes that some of his previous stories had when he was Admiral Naismith. The adrenaline level is a little bit lower, but I appreciate so much how Miles's character has developed and matured. He's not the young man in the earlier stories anymore. He is married, and he and Ekaterine are expecting the birth of their children. Just imagine that, Miles with children. There's a very touching scene at the end that brought tears to my eyes. So this was very good. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It wasn't as wonderful and beautiful as some other books like Mirror Dance or Memory, but it was a very solid installment in the series. The next thing that I read was Nimona by Noelle Stevenson. This was a webcomic that has now been published in print form. This is about a young woman or child named Nimona who's a shapeshifter. She offers her services to the evil villain Lord Ballister Blackheart as his sidekick in his evil villain plots. And it says, their mission, prove to the kingdom that Sir Ambrosius Goldenloin and his buddies at the Institution of Law Enforcement and Heroics aren't the heroes everyone thinks they are. The story is sweet, but I think it also has a lot of depth to it. I was reading this thinking I could reread this a lot. There's a lot going on underneath the surface. It's not as simple as it seems. And I really liked how the relationship between Nimona and Blackheart is portrayed and how that changes throughout the story. Nimona at first is kind of annoying and petulant and childlike, and then you learn a lot more about her character as the story progresses. Art-wise, I really liked the art. I really enjoy webcomics, and I think that they often have a simpler panel layout and page layout. This is more boxy without very much art that cuts across the lines. I usually prefer more realistic artwork, but the artwork in this story really worked with the characters and how people talk in the story and the setting. I really enjoyed it, and I definitely recommend this one. The final book that I read was The Language of Power by Rosemary Kirstein. This is the 4th book in the Steerswoman series, and it's the continuing adventures of Rowan, Belle, and their friend Willem. who's been a wizard's apprentice for 6 years. Rowan has been on this quest to discover the origin of these mysterious blue gems. She discovers where they come from, and this leads her to a much bigger mystery about this guide star that has fallen from the sky and who brought it down and why. This sets them on the path of trying to find an evil wizard named Slato, who has power over all the other wizards. And in this story, Rowan and Belle, with the assistance of their friend Willem, come closer to understanding the events that happened decades ago when the Guide Star fell, what the wizards were up to at that time, and where they might be able to find Slato, and stop him or figure out what he's really trying to do. I love this book a lot. I had a little bit of problems with the plotting in the third book, but this one, it was really fast-paced. You get more answers, even if they're just small chunks and you don't get the answer to the big picture overall. How the world works, even more evidence for a higher level of technology is given to you in this. I like that they're finding more of the breadcrumbs on their journey to discovering what's really going on in the world. So I gave this 5 stars. It was really great, and I cannot wait for the next books. Apparently, Christine is working on the 5th and 6th books, and I hope they come out soon. I hope they come out this year or next year because I want to know. That was a lot of stuff. Here are some more books. I am currently reading Blood of Amber by Roger Zelazny, the 7th book in the Chronicles of Amber. I am reading Captain Vorpatrail's Alliance by Lois McMaster-Bujold, the second to last Vorkoskin novel, though it is actually about Ivan Vorpatrail, who is Miles's cousin. And on my Kindle, I am reading Emma by Jane Austen. I'm actually buddy reading this book with my friend Rachel, so I'm not going to be finishing it for another 1 or 2 weeks. Those are the things that I read this past week. That's what I'm currently reading. And I'm going to go off and make lasagna now. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you have any comments on the things that I read this past week or that I'm currently reading, let me know what you're currently reading. Please leave them in the comments down below, and I'll talk to you guys again later. Bye.